I was released from the hospital that night with no serious burns to my lungs, my neck, my throat. I had some burns on my skin that I'll bear the scars probably the rest of my life, but it'll just be a reminder of that night that, you know, things got a little bit crazy and a little bit out of control and a little bit out of hand. I'd agreed to go to Colorado prior to the fiery crash for a friend to pick up his race car the following week, and I felt it would be the perfect time to reflect and process what had happened. There was so much emotion involved in seeing Melinda and Seven outside that ambulance. There was so much emotion involved with the hundreds of text messages and friends that just were grateful that I was okay that night. And so while driving to Colorado through the beautiful West and driving home, I reflected on a couple of things. You know, life sometimes deals things to you that you cannot predict. I would have never predicted 37 seconds before that fiery crash that we were about to do that. Had I been able to predict it, well, I probably wouldn't have played it out the same way. You and I both know we can't predict the tragic things or the adverse things that happen in our life, but we can process what they mean. The other day I had my blood pressure checked, and when the nurse got done checking my blood pressure, she said with a big smile on her face, she said, "Well, hey, you're alive." And I thought about it for a second. Just because you have a blood pressure, are you really alive? Because I think if there's a heart beating in your chest, it's definitely a sign of existence. But is it a sign of life? You know, one of the things that adventure and racing and loving people with your whole heart and loving God with your whole heart and growing in faith, well, those are the signs of life to me. Doing something for the first time and having a little fear, that's a sign of life. Living a life that's safe with all of your vitals perfectly in order, well, is that withdrawing into a fortress of safety? Or does it become a prison of fear? Because if we live our lives truly afraid of what might happen, truly afraid of adversity, of tragedy, well, I would say that's merely existing and not really living. We've talked a lot about these last few months. People have asked, are you gonna race again? Well, I already have. I jumped in my good friend Namath's car just 2 weeks after the fiery crash and had a good run in that. And then I jumped in my own car on championship night, me and Gracie, that's the name of my car, united again. I've had some months to think about it, and I choose life. Because fear is not a choice. I tell my little girl all the time, and I'm gonna tell you, it's okay to be afraid. But what's not okay is to let fear be what determines the existence of your life. It's okay to be afraid of what might happen. It's okay to be afraid of risk. In fact, that many times it does keep us safe. But it's not okay to let fear determine the course of your life and where you're headed. I'm Jeff Knight, who pastors people, loves Jesus with all his heart, and drives a car absolutely as fast as that track will allow me. And I'm gonna keep doing it for as long as the Lord allows me, as long as I'm having a good time, as long as I'm competitive, and as long as it's fun. Because fear isn't what determines our life. Man, we step out and truly live.